Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast live stream edition. It is me, David, and we are trying out something new tonight, seeing if we can actually go live here and have some more interaction with our viewers, listeners. Of course, we have a podcast. We're on all major podcast apps: Apple Music, Google Play, Stitcher, and if you're a part of our Patreon, thank you so much. Thank you for the support. But yeah, I just wanted to get up on here and talk about Star Wars in general. Talk about Chapter 13. It's a Monday, so you've had about 3 days to see the newest episode. So it's I'm going to talk about spoilers, needless to say. I thought that Chapter 13, entitled The Jedi, was awesome. I loved it. Of course, we heavily anticipated Ahsoka's live-action debut, and it happened. And the more incredible and interesting fact was we pretty much fan-casted her, and that's something I think that's kind of unprecedented. And I wanted to see what everyone's opinions out there on YouTube are about the casting of Rosario Dawson. My opinion is I thought it was great casting. It was terrific casting. And of course, like I said earlier, she got fan casted. A lot of people envisioned her as Ahsoka Tano. And the thing that a lot of people aren't talking about is the fact that it happened. And it's an unbelievable fact. And the moment right now that we are in Star Wars fandom is, it feels a lot like 2014. It feels a lot like the whole fandom is unified. We're all together, and that certain excitement is back. And it feels like The Mandalorian, to me, is the number one thing that I wanted to see out of the Disney purchase of Lucasfilm, and we're getting it. We're getting a Star Wars TV show. I know we talked about it on the podcast a while back that there was kind of like a pilot shot for a Star Wars TV show. It was, I think the setting was Coruscant, and it didn't look all that great. And it looked kind of, I don't want to put it down, but it looked kind of like certain sci-fi shows that you see that just didn't look that great. There was like really bright colors in the background, and it just, I don't think it would have worked back then. I think now with the volume, and now with the technology we have, and of course Disney's resources, they are making the show that I always wanted. And not only that, the people that are in charge, you have Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. I mean, they are fans. They're quintessential sweaty fans, and them being in charge is just, it's like a dream. Where the fandom was a couple of years ago to now, it's done a 180. It feels like we're unified. I don't know. Hey, what's up, Alex? It's an incredible thing. But of course, Chapter 13, I do want to talk about. So, spoiler alert up front. I thought Ahsoka worked. I thought the white lightsabers worked. I thought her costume worked. Her and her robes. I thought the juxtaposition between the Western aspect and the samurai Japanese film aspect was so awesome. And the fact that Filoni wrote it, directed it, it kind of made me wonder, is he going to come back at the very end and direct the finale for season 2? I don't think we've really gotten confirmation on that. We still have Rick Famuyiwa, and we still have Robert Rodriguez. And I'm thinking that Robert Rodriguez is actually going to direct the next episode. So I just wonder what it's going to be. I know I asked a question to everyone on the podcast that came out Monday, or today, I should say. And no one has any idea, which is kind of also the built-in magic and the built-in beauty of what the TV show is. And I'm just super excited. I know we put out that meme on Facebook of Baby Yoda with his arms up, being "This is me" on Fridays, and it's just an incredible time. And Ahsoka totally worked. I mean, I was I was anxious, but it was kind of like the kind of excited anxious because I had a feeling they were gonna totally pull off Ahsoka, and it feels like they mean Dave Filoni. He's pretty much the one responsible. Him and George Lucas. Now, on our group chat, James he brought up the fact that he thinks that George Lucas is more involved than we think. And I kind of thought he was going to be more involved, just the simple fact that it's basically his son, Dave Filoni, that's directing and that's producing The Mandalorian. So of course he's going to show up on set, but I think Lucas is talking. I think he's talking a lot. And that Vanity Fair article that came out today kind of described what the setting was. George Lucas was on set. He was holding Grogu in his hand. And it's a little blurry photo. It's kind of famous now, I think. But off to the side, Rosario Dawson was standing there. And I think in her Ahsoka Tano makeup. And and yeah, it's kind of, if I was behind the scenes, if I was working at Lucasfilm, I'd be kind of afraid to release that picture because, I mean, off stage left, you have a major spoiler standing right there. I hope we can get the picture and have it blown up and actually see her to the side. I hope that gets released if that picture was taken. I don't know. But we did get, we got a bunch of comments here. We did get that picture of Robert Rodriguez with Grogu on his Instagram, I believe. And like I said, I think it's the next episode. I'm hoping it's the next episode. Because I think Rick Famuyiwa, I think, is writing the one after that. I can't really remember. I don't know. In chat, if you can look that up, if you guys know, type it in because I'm not certain. But it seems like there's a mystery director for chapter 16. And I heard a report today. I want to talk about this. So, spoilers did leak for chapter 13. And there's actually multiple sources that reported the leaks, and they checked out. Multiple different sources reported the same thing. So it amazes me that stuff like this can get out online, but someone on set leaked what happened. And I think it was a couple days beforehand I knew about the mentioning of Thrawn. I knew that we're going to get Baby Yoda's real name. I knew that what Ahsoka's appearance was going to be. There was one really kind of interesting description about how she had very, very bright colored skin, bright orange skin, and very bright blue eyes. And if you read that Vanity Fair article, it does talk about how the makeup on the skin, the orange makeup, had to be just right because the volume turned Ahsoka Tano almost like a magenta color, which is really kind of interesting. So what is the actual paint, or what was the tone, what was the hue of paint they used on Rosario Dawson for her to like show up orange on camera? I don't know. Thought that was kind of interesting. It's okay. Ricardo, what's up, man? Yeah, he's saying Rick is writing chapter 15. So yeah, I kind of remember that Rick was writing at least one episode, and he directed one of my favorite episodes, which is chapter 2, which is really not popular. It's kind of, I really liked it because it reminded me of a video game, and the whole series is kind of like a video game. You have like a big mission and a side mission, big mission, side mission, and I really do like that aspect. And I think it proves out the fact that you can take a video game and make it into a good movie. I know it's The Mandalorian, I know it's a TV show, it's not a movie, but I think it can translate if you do it right. So, back to what I was saying, if I can remember exactly what I was saying. the volume, Rosario Dawson on the volume. That Vanity Fair article talked about the fan casting, and I just can't get over the fact. And of course, there's more fan castings out there. And hey, how's it going, Crystal? The biggest fan casting I think that exists out there is Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker. I know some of you knew where I was going. It would be an incredible. I think I would jump out of my seat. I think I would feel the same way that a certain group of fans felt for Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano being in live action. I was excited. I mean, I really, really heavily kind of anticipated them showing up. And if they go through with it, and I think there's a higher probability now of the fact that we know that Din Djarin is going to take Grogu and the Razor Crest to Tython and put him on the Seeing Stone. A lot of people don't think that's going to happen until next season, but I think we're going to get it. And hopefully we see someone kind of answer the call, someone that's out there searching for survivors of Order 66. And I think the dream for me, somewhat of my generation, is to see somehow, some way, Luke Skywalker. And I've talked about it in the past. I mean, you have all these deep fake videos out there. The one that comes to mind is the one of Solo with Alden Ehrenreich having Harrison Ford's face on his head. I thought Alden Ehrenreich's performance was awesome. I liked it. It didn't bother me. Like I think some fans, it did bother them. I think people that were older than me in general, I think kind of had a tougher time accepting it. But I thought he did a great job. But the fact that someone took Harrison Ford's face and almost seamlessly added it onto Alden Ehrenreich's performance. I mean, someone in like their garage on like a MacBook or a PC just did that, and it looks seamless. And it's like, well, yeah, if someone in their garage can do it, Lucasfilm can do it with Luke. And I saw a comment earlier tonight where one of our buddies, Craig, from that I met at Star Wars Celebration in 2017, he talked about, getting Mark Hamill to come back. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be like a super tricky situation due to the fact that Mark Hamill has kind of said some things, and it seems like he's kind of done with Star Wars. I think he's kind of alluded to it on Twitter, at least. But it would be even more interesting if they got Mark Hamill back to play Luke Skywalker somehow, some way. I don't know exactly how they would take Mark Hamill's performance and make him into his younger self. I think the easier route would be getting Sebastian Stan. He's already part of the Marvel family. Of course, we fan casted him just like we did with Rosario Dawson. So it's like one of those things. Are they going to pull it off? It seems like the possibilities are endless, and I'm ultra excited for the future of this show. But Giancarlo keeps on talking, and I mentioned it before. There was a report that talked about the fact that we don't see a lot of Mandalorian cast doing talk shows and chat shows out there, for the simple fact that they want to keep all these secrets in-house and they don't want anything to leak. Now, of course, I talked about all the leaks that happened, and they pretty much came to pass. So Disney is oddly okay in a way with the leaks, which is kind of surprising. I saw something today. A YouTuber talked about how he dropped the leaks, but there was key words he had to say in order for Disney not to strike the video, which was kind of interesting. And he talked about getting a phone call from Disney, and this person seems trustworthy, so I'm not even sure if it's true, but the person didn't talk about everything that was on the phone call, but they left his video up, and they asked him how he got that information. I thought it was like super interesting that they went that far and didn't take his video down. His video was up. So it's almost like Lucasfilm Disney wants that type of stuff out there. I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I'd like to hear people's thoughts on what they think about that whole like leak situation. And it brought back some really good memories from 2014 when the Force Awakens script leaked. And I had 99% assurance that they were true because multiple different sources said the same stuff. And apparently chapter 12 also leaked too, but no one believed it. And one of the surprising facts is, we talked about on the podcast, I think, that Baby Yoda's real name leaked all the way back in 2019. And I think the Vanity Fair article today talked about the simple fact that Dave Filoni knew the name beforehand, and it was out there, so people did know it. I remember Bob Iger talking about it too, how he knew the name. And I think we all assumed it was going to start with a Y, but it was actually a G. And my theory is it's kind of in honor of George Lucas. Every single letter in the name Grogu is from George Lucas. And interestingly and hilariously enough, my buddy Chris figured out that the remaining letters in George Lucas that weren't used for Grogu totally forgot. If I go to the Facebook group, I can check it out and see it. But it's a hilarious possible last name. But of course, I mean, Yoda and Yaddle didn't have last names, but it was kind of funny. If you go to the Facebook group, the Star Wars Stuff Podcast Facebook group, you can check it out there. So, yeah, there's a bunch of you commenting here. So, I had a buddy today. He might be watching, actually. I didn't have a chance to respond to him because I kind of had a crazy day. He brought up the fact, and he's a really sweaty Star Wars fan, maybe even more so than me. He talked about the fact that he thought that if they bring Luke Skywalker into The Mandalorian, it could maybe mess it all up. But I think that I trust Filoni and Favreau. I mean, almost to a fault. Anything they do, anything they say, it's like, yes, I want more of it. Their constant kind of interweaving of EU and the animation and stuff that Star Wars fans like us know about it seems seamless. It seems perfect. When I ended chapter 13 at 3 a.m. on Black Friday, I mean, I came away from it thinking it was just a perfect episode. All these episodes that they're giving us, it's just what I think we all wanted. And like I said, you'd be hard pressed to find anyone out there that doesn't like these episodes that they're dropping. It's kind of funny they call them episodes and chapters simultaneously. If you go on Disney Plus, you can actually see that. So chapter 13 was episode 5, which is a good omen because, of course, episode 5 was Empire. So, yeah, Alex asks, have you ever thought of doing a live Q&A on Discord or even creating a Discord server? Well, we do have a Discord server, and it's available through our Patreon channel if you want to check that out. So, yeah, we have a Patreon you can definitely go check out. And we're trying to add stuff just about every week. We release our podcast, our audio podcast episodes, as soon as I can get them edited, uploaded. I put them online. And of course, we have commentaries for the Clone Wars. And I'm about to drop maybe 12 episodes of commentary that Colin, Ray, Brooke, Matt, and Sam did, all kind of collectively together. So, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going in our stories. I always love to hear people talk about their Star Wars story. Everyone has a unique Star Wars story. Everyone that's in the Facebook group, that's supporting us on Patreon, we all have very interesting, different Star Wars stories. And I always love to hear about them. And I'm going to try and go through everyone in the 501st that I'm a part of in my squad and try and get everyone recorded and uploaded to Patreon. And the first one I actually did was with Jordan. And he was actually one of the first guys I trooped with. And I mean, we became friends there. I mean, he was awesome with me. I was just starting out. I didn't know what to do. And if you join our Patreon, you can hear all about it. We went about 3 hours. I think he was on his cell phone and he had a bad connection as far as video, but the audio was great. So if you want to check it out there. So I see Crystal asking thoughts on seeing Force Ghosts on Tython. Like I said before, it's a possibility. With Filoni and Favreau in charge, I don't do as much theorizing as I would with like Rian Johnson being in charge or Colin Trevorrow when he was in charge. And then J.J. Abrams took over because a lot of that stuff leaked. But I think it would be one of the ultimate secrets if we do get Luke Skywalker cast and on screen in the next 2 episodes. But then again, it's like, where do you go from there? I mean, it's like, does Luke Skywalker get his own TV series? I mean, we all kind of figure that Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano is going to get a series for Disney Plus. So Alex says, Patreon, here I come. Yeah, man, totally. You'll get the episodes earlier, and if we do have ads, it'll be ad free. But yeah, I mean, I remember being at Celebration in Orlando in 2017 at the 40th panel, and Samuel L. Jackson's little screen message came up, and he kind of lobbied for returning back to the saga. And it seems like a lot of fans are actually on board with Mace Windu returning. And a lot of people think that it's possible for Mace Windu in physical form to show up. I'm not quite sure if that would really kind of work, but because it's like, what was he doing all this time? I mean, why did he just make up his mind and like just leave the Jedi Order immediately and just kind of disappear and not help? Although there is kind of precedence for that because Yoda just took off and left the Dagobah, so I don't know. It's it feels like it would be a hard sell, but I think Samuel L. Jackson really does want back in. So we shall see. But yeah, I mean, the Force Ghost theory on Tython answering Grogu. See, the more I think about it and the more I have thought about it, it feels like Grogu is not going to choose the path of being a Force user. It feels like, I mean, think about it. I mean, his story is him hiding. They talked about it in chapter 13. He hid his powers. He hid from everyone. And he's 50 years old. For 50 years, we don't know exactly how long he trained on Coruscant. And I would love to see that flashback, all the masters, and be back on Coruscant. Man, I'm thinking about it right now. I think the big thing for me would be the flashbacks. And to think that the show is The Mandalorian is this successful and we haven't got any flashbacks yet, it makes me think that we might not get much. Of course, we think in the Obi-Wan series we're going to get a bunch of flashbacks, hopefully to the Clone Wars, hopefully to Anakin in his prime, hopefully we get a younger Ahsoka Tano. There's precedence for that. So I'm really hoping that they really color in Grogu's story more. But Hal Hickle's tweet that we talked about on the podcast, the fact that stuff's going to get really crazy, it's going to be a roller coaster ride. It's it feels like to me that something huge is going to happen. Something that we're not expecting. What could it be? I'm thinking that maybe Grogu is going to maybe be separated. Maybe he's going to be captured. Maybe Din's going to be captured. Maybe there's probably going to be a cliffhanger, a major cliffhanger. Of course, I've talked about it before. Having Luke Skywalker in the Return of the Jedi black outfit with the green lightsaber hilt kind of walk into frame, and then it cut right there. Yeah, I'd be rolling around on the floor. I'd be jumping around like a crazy man. So, yeah, I'm reading your comments here. So Daniel says he thinks he's going to lean toward the dark side based off of Mando's actions. I see that, yeah, as a possibility. He's not going to be super dark, but yeah, he could lean to the dark. The one thing that a lot of people consider to be, and I know Dave Filoni definitely thinks this is not the way, having gray Jedi. I know it's a controversial topic, and Freddie Prinze Jr. had that big rant about saying there's no such thing as a gray Jedi. I learned from Filoni, who learned from Lucas. There's no such thing. But, I mean, if you look at Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon was probably the closest thing that we've seen to a gray Jedi. And he didn't lean towards the dark per se, but he just leaned towards out of the Jedi way. And yeah, if they could pull that off, having Grogu lean towards the dark. And I mean, we've seen him force choke Cara Dune, so I mean, he's kind of doing what he's got to do. But yeah, I saw people theorizing that like Yoda and Yaddle are the parents of Grogu. But you would think if that was the case, Ahsoka Tano would have kind of brought that up. And I do wonder if she did, during the Force communication between her and Grogu, if she did see the person or the alien that hid Grogu once Order 66 came. I know there's a bunch of debate. Some people think that he was actually taken from the temple before Order 66 happened because there was foresight there. So I don't know. Like I said, I want to get a flashback. I want to see what happened. It would be great to see Coruscant again. I think we all wanted Coruscant in the sequel trilogy. We didn't get it. I think Hazian Prime would have been a good substitute out for Coruscant. So Pre Vizsla in here thinks that Jocasta Nu took him. And sometimes when people say that name, people groan because I think their only experience is with the film, with Attack of the Clones. But I think in the comic books and I think the novels, Jocasta Nu actually turns out to be a pretty cool character. So if you can check out some of the stuff that she's in, I say check it out. And she sounds like a cool character, a Jedi librarian. I mean, sounds pretty rad. So what else do you guys want to talk about here? What do you guys think is going to happen in this next episode? Which I think Robert Rodriguez is going to totally direct in. Which I only live about 50 miles away from him. So yeah, Chip thinks they won't reveal that the Jedi shows up until season 3 premiere. We all kind of thought that Ahsoka wasn't going to make the kind of debut that she did in the very first seconds of Chapter 13. So hopefully we do get the Jedi. I know the show is The Mandalorian. I know that it's not the Skywalker saga, but I have no problem with Jedi showing up. I mean, the Jedi is a real fundamental base aspect of Star Wars, and to see those white lightsabers in live action, It was awesome. I loved it. The sound design for him, that would be awesome. Previous a flashback of Grogu. Yeah, I think we all want to see it. I think there's a certain fan out there, a certain generation out there that really does want to see prequel era stuff. And of course, I think we're gonna get it with Obi-Wan. So, yeah, definitely. So, if you come across articles of Giancarlo Esposito talking about The Mandalorian, he does say a little bit more than I think Lucasfilm wants him to say. And I don't know if I should say it here because I don't think a lot of people do know exactly what's going on. But I mean, it's kind of like what Sasha Banks said. I talked about on the podcast, the fact that, and this is kind of spoilery in a way, but I don't think Casca Reeves was really going to come back as like a big time character. She might come back in the Bo-Katan series, if there is a Bo-Katan series. Hopefully there is. I'd be down for Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano adventures. But yeah, Sasha Banks gave an interview. I don't know exactly where, but she said that was her last appearance for season 2 in chapter 11. So we shall see what happens if the Mandalorians do show up. And everyone's kind of thinking that chapter 16 is going to be a big team up. We're going to see Ahsoka Tano and Bo-Katan and Axe Woves maybe, and Casca Reeves all show up with more Mandalorians, maybe Death Watch, and have a huge like end battle. Yeah, the one thing that kind of pops into my head, it's been kind of tumbling around in my head lately, is the fact that, like I said before, we fan casted Rosario. We're asking for things and we're getting them. I was in favor of this a while back, and I've kind of lessened on it, but having a Mandalorian, and I think they talked about it, they being Lucasfilm and Bob Iger. I know there's been articles out there about maybe having a Mandalorian film. Now, I know there were certain TV shows that got released that I thought would look awesome and culminating in a film, because of course with a film you can have more money, a larger budget, and we can see more things, and of course it's a longer episode per se. And with The Mandalorian, if we got like a 3-hour Mandalorian episode on the big screen with a film budget, I think that would be epic. I think it'd be so epic. I mean, they could bring in so many people, so many planets, so many environments, so many creatures. And of course, with a built-in audience of Star Wars and then the TV show, it would be an epic event. I know The Walking Dead wanted to try something like that, but I think the fandom and the hype for that show kind of really died down. So yeah, Crystal says the Ahsoka episode could have been a movie or just the example of a Star Wars standalone. It did feel very standalone-ish, and that episode really made it feel like we're not going to get Ahsoka Tano back. Which is sad in a way, but I think we're all kind of anticipating them, Lucasfilm, announcing her own series. Which, it's always puzzled me why they haven't announced every single series. Of course, we have the rumor of the Boba Fett series casting, and maybe I have already shot stuff. It hasn't come out through Variety or Hollywood Reporter or anyone else credible. So it's kind of one of those things. Is it really happening? And of course, we got Tamira Morrison showing up at the very end of Chapter 9. And of course, it has to be Boba Fett, right? So was that kind of his one-off episode to kind of prepare us and kind of prime us for a Boba Fett TV show? Kind of feels like it. So yeah, I think the future is super exciting for Star Wars, especially the TV shows. The fact that Disney Plus Disney announced that they're going to concentrate on streaming. I know it sucks being in this pandemic and having movie theaters shut down and not getting new films, but for me, streaming, I know it's kind of sacrilegious to say it, but I feel like streaming is the way to go. And I love the movie experience, but driving out, I know I sound like super lazy here, but now I have my own 4K TV. I could just stream it in the comfort of my own home. But yeah, going to the theater, I mean that's always been a magical experience, and there's always proponents for the movie theater experience and the big screen, the silver screen. And I always think about what Quentin Tarantino has always said. It's a very unique experience. It's like a dream, watching a dream on a big screen. But it feels like to me that, I mean, streaming now with the technology, especially with the volume, is the way to go. So I think his name, or this person's name, is ChesTube. He says, if Thrawn shows up, do you think Ezra would also be alive? I want to say, since it's Dave Filoni, and of course George Lucas taught him the way, I think Ezra is still alive. I think everyone at the end of Rebels is still going. And now we do have the possibility that the very last shot of Ahsoka the White in Rebels was actually an event that took place after Chapter 13, which is super interesting as well. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Chip. I think if Thrawn is alive, Ezra's alive. And I think that's going to be a basis either for an animated show or a live action show. And I'm just very curious on who's going to play Thrawn. I know we joked about it on the podcast where we saw the big banner and they had Thrawn kind of materialized as a live action character, and it looked like it was Pierce Brosnan, which was kind of interesting and kind of funny. But I know James is on board. James was kind of pulling for Pierce Brosnan, but I've seen a lot of people fan cast for Michael Fassbender, and I think, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch would probably make an awesome Thrawn. He'd be Khan and Thrawn. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Of course, you can check us out on every major podcast app. You can check us out on Patreon. You can check us out on Twitter. I'll probably be live streaming to Twitter. We're at StuffPod on Twitter. And always, if you want to help us out, you can go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. We're also on Instagram. We just gave away a pretty rad Mandalorian Din Djarin helmet to someone. We do giveaways on Instagram. And, of course, Facebook. I'm always on there posting memes, information, interesting tidbits on our Star Wars Stuff Podcast Facebook group. So, thank you, everyone, for joining the live stream. I think it's the first time we've done something like this. And I don't think it'll be the last time. So, thank you, everyone that joined. And may the Force be with you. Always. This is the way.